Okie dokie. On this travel instruction video, we are going to walk through creating a travel authorization, also commonly referred to among departments as a travel request. It's the first part of the travel that needs to be completed. So we're going to go to this travel authorization instructions. If you look at the slideshow of instructions, we have walkthrough instructions on how to create a travel authorization, and it kind of walks you through step by step. But I know sometimes it's difficult to just read instructions and follow it along, so I'm going to walk you through it in this video. So if we go to our SUU portal, this is my portal right here, we're going to navigate to the travel button under the apps section. So here's the app section, and we are going to click on the travel button right here. So we're going to go ahead and click that. This is going to show all of the travel requests that you have. I am in accounts payable and I approve travels, but I don't actually ever travel for the university, so I don't currently have any travels under this little section. But if you do, they'll show up here just under the travel number section, and you can click on travels and edit them and alter them whatever you need. But to create a travel authorization, we're going to click on this green request travel button. We're going to open that up, and this creates a travel form, and so we need to fill it out. Pro tip, currently the travel form, if you go into it and you enter information, like I'll enter some information here and go on, and then if I go out of it, it disappears. So if you're requesting travel, if you're creating authorization, you have to do it all in one go, so make sure you have all of your information in there first. So first we're going to put in our T number. And I'll go ahead and put in my T number. It'll automatically have your name if you're requesting the travel, but if you put in someone else's T number, it'll pull up a different name. So if I put in, okay, yeah, that wasn't a T number, so that's a bad example actually. But we'll just go with my T number for this one. So it pops up my name, the purpose, and this is where you're going to put the purpose of why you're traveling. If you're traveling for an athletics competition, put softball versus, I don't know which colleges they verse, but any of the college. If you're going to a conference, put like RMPA conference or whatever you're doing. For this one, I'm just going to put training video travel. You can add any comments you want. Under the party, you're going to put who you're traveling with. If I'm traveling alone, I'm just going to put that. If I'm traveling with employees, I can go ahead and enter them here. If I'm traveling with students, then you have to make sure that you do the campus security authority training, which is right here. If you click on that, it brings you to the training. And you can go ahead and just create that and fill it out, and you can get a little piece of paper that says that you did it. You will need that if you're traveling with students. And this is where you're gonna attach a party file if you're traveling with students, and that should have the list of all the students that you're traveling with. This is required per the risk and insurance department, and so you want to make sure you have that. And then if you're ever traveling with non-enrolled minors, similar situation if you're traveling with students. I'm just going to put that I'm traveling alone. And then we go to the destinations. This is where you're going to put where you're traveling. So I'm just going to travel in Utah, and I'm going to travel to Logan. And as you are typing things in, it will pop up with suggestions, and so that makes it a little bit easier. If you're traveling to multiple locations, you can press this little green plus button, and you can add different locations. So I'm going to say that I am departing today and returning today. And maybe I'm going to another place, and I'm going to Salt Lake City, Utah. So we're going to put that in. And also departing today, returning today. Okay, so that is how you put in your destination. It's a little bit finicky when you're putting different countries. If it doesn't pop up with your selected city or region or whatever, just type in wherever you're going. It should let you do it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate my max per diem. This does not put the per diem in that travel for you. It just tells you how much you are allowed to take. And so it calculates it for you. If you need per diem and mileage information, you can click on that little button there, and this brings you to the fleet operations. and that will give you that information. This information is also under the travel guidelines page under the instructions down at the bottom. We have per diem information and we have mileage information. So either of those places, if you ever have questions, you can use those two little buttons there. So now we're just going to put in the expenses. You do not have to know exactly what your expenses are now. This is before you travel, this is what you're expecting it to be, not what it actually is. So I'm going to say I'm going to take per diem. And this expense type, there's three different types of expenses. We have departmental, out of pocket, and non-reimbursable. So departmental is anything that your department paid for you. Anything your P card was used to pay, anything the department paid for you, that's departmental. Out of pocket is anything that you paid for out of your own pocket and you need to be reimbursed for. Anything that's non-reimbursable, you're just putting on there to explain, maybe it's lodging and you're putting on there to explain where you lodged, but you don't want to be reimbursed for it, or somebody else outside of the university paid for it. Per diem is always out of pocket. So we're just going to put per diem, out of pocket. Description, I'm just going to say one lunch, and I'm planning that it'll only be $15. Now I can claim $37.50, and a lot of people do. That's totally fine. But I'm just going to claim $15 to save my department some money. And then I can add an expense. Maybe I'm going to do private vehicle. Private vehicle is going to be your mileage expenses. Airfare is going to be if you're taking any flights. Lodging is where you're staying if it's an overnight travel. If it's not, don't worry about it. Conference is any conference fees that you may have if you're traveling to a conference. Rental vehicles, any rental vehicles that you plan on taking. Motor pool, if you're planning on taking a motor pool vehicle, a lot of people don't know exactly how much it's going to cost. Just put your best estimate. You can put the actual amount on your expense report. And motor pool vehicles are always departmental. And then if you have any other expenses, just make sure you put it there. You select the correct expense type and give us a pretty good description of what that expense is. So for this one, I'm just going to put private vehicle. Which is always out of pocket because I'm just going to do mileage to Salt Lake City. And if I look at this vehicle and per diem info and at the fleet operations, I can actually look at this mileage to common destinations, and this will tell me the common mileage to wherever I want to go. If I'm going to Logan, 338 miles. If I'm going to Salt Lake City, 265. So I'm going to say mileage to Salt Lake City. Well, we'll just put mileage to Logan, and assuming I drive up to Logan and then stop at Salt Lake City on my way back. So mileage to Logan, if we look at our common destinations, is 338. So that's 338 miles to Logan and 338 miles back. Mileage is 50 cents per mile. So if I have 338 miles there and 338 miles back, that is a total of 676 miles. But that is not what I'm going to be reimbursed. I'm going to be reimbursed half of that. So it's going to be your 338 is what I'm expecting. Okay, so you'll do that for every expense you have, just depending on what you have. There are little notices that will pop up depending on your expenses. Make sure to read those. Advance amount is if you need any amount cash advance before you leave on your travel. This is imperative for athletics, for study abroads, but I will just have you reference my advanced video. If you have questions on that, for our purposes, we're just going to put 0. This has to be filled out. If you're not requesting advance, put 0. Now the accounting distribution. This is where I'm going to put where my expenses are going to be charged to. If your expense is departmental, nothing happens on the back end. The travel system does not charge your department. It's just telling us where that was charged to. If it's out of pocket, when we process your reimbursement, this amount here, this 353, is going to come out of this focal. So we're just going to go ahead and put this focal in. I'm just going to do the biz fee index for the purposes of this travel, and we are going to look at travel in state. That just does the account for us, and no activity location, and we're going to do 100%. You can put in the amounts that you want specific if you have multiple focals, but the reimbursements will always be calculated on percents, so percents are the a little bit more accurate ones. Then I'm going to come in, I'm going to select my supervisor, who's Dave Clark. If you want to add any additional FYIs, people who will get your travel, they don't have to approve it, but they just get an FYI. Then you can add them there. And then I'm going to come and I'm going to accept the terms of travel and agree to submit an expense report after my trip is complete. That is imperative. Anytime you have a travel authorization, you should have a travel expense report once you return. You need to create that and submit it, or you will be getting an email from us. Then this preview approvers button, you can look and I can look and see who's going to approve my travel. And so I can see I'll go to my supervisor, and then it'll go here, and then it'll go here. And I'm going to look at that before I hit submit. All right, and then I'm actually going to change this index to my actual department's index so that it goes to the right approvers. So we have that all filled out. I'm going to preview my approvers, see who it goes to, and then I'm going to hit submit. That submits your travel authorization. You can look at it, here's my travel request, gives me a travel number. That will be required if you ever need to communicate with accounts payable. We need to know what the travel number is. And now if you notice, I go back to the travel system, just the travel button, and then I have my travel right there. And I can edit it if needed. So that is how you create a travel authorization and submit it. That needs to be done before you travel. Of course, because I'm not actually traveling, I just did the depart date and return date as today. But if ever you're traveling, make sure it's done before, so that we can comply with everything that we need to.